What's up, screen printers? Ryan here with Texsource. So there is such a thing as a one-hit white. I know I've been anti one-hit white, which is technically true only in plastisol. But when you come to discharge or water-based inks, there is such a thing as a one-hit white. And today we're going to print a water-based bright discharge white, which can be used as a one-hit white. So what we're going to do is we'll mix our discharge agent into our white mixture, because the discharge agent is what's going to make this white dye the fabric and discharge into a bright white. When it's first printed onto the garment, it's going to be very faint. You can't really see it. It's not going to work. But then once we run it through the dryer and the ZF powder goes through its chemical reactions and actually dyes the garment, it'll be a very bright white. So we'll get into the mixture. We'll explain a little bit more of the white on press, and we'll start from there. So my white, it's very thin, runny, as all water-based whites should be. We'll pour a little bit of this in a cup. So we're at 140 grams. Make sure to clear out the grams, because you will mess up and forget what you put in. So we're at 140. We're now using our discharge powder. Again, that's what's going to activate the ink. You want to do a max of 6% of this powder into the ink. So we're at 140 times 0.06, 8.4 grams. If you add more of the powder, it's not going to discharge. It'll still discharge, but it's not going to over discharge. You're not really doing anything by adding more powder. So we will add 9 grams of powder to this. Make sure when you're putting the powder in, you don't put a bunch of, you kind of chop it up. You want to get the fine powder in the ink versus the clumps. Because once the clumps go in, it's really hard to chop those up inside the ink. And all ZF powder has the same stench and smell. It's got a very strong odor. I don't mind it. I don't think it's bad. A lot of people can mind it. When printing this ink, if you are very susceptible to certain smells, it's always good to, when you're printing this, make sure to be in a well ventilated area, because once it comes through the dryer, you'll have a lot of smoke coming off the ink or off the shirts as it comes through, and it can smell up the shop fast. All right, so we got our ink mixed here, nice and well. You do again, adding powder, make sure to add the fine powders, not the chunks, because if you do fine chunks in this, when you go to press, it's going to make a mess. So make sure to stir it really well. Printed. So in printing the discharge whites, or really any water-based inks, some of them, certain brands will tend to leave a haze in the screen after you've printed. Even when you go to wash off the screen, you'll still have like a really faint haze. To avoid that, you can always spray water onto the screen before adding the ink, adding the water-based ink. What water-based ink does is, as soon as you put it onto a dry screen, that dry screen is kind of absorbing the water-based. So if you want to try and avoid some of the haze or some of the residue that's left on the screen from water-based, lightly spray it with water, mist it, because then the screen's going to absorb the water first and not the water-based ink. All right, so when printing with water-based inks, any water-based inks, make sure to, when you're printing, always flood the image and keep it flooded at all times, even after you print it. If you print it, walk away for any period of time, or 30-45 minutes, that ink will dry in the logo, and then your screen is pretty much done. So always make sure your screen is flooded at all times. So we're printing on a 100% cotton shirt. This only works well with 100% cottons. It does not work well with 50/50s or anything less of a 100% cotton shirt, because only cotton is really what will discharge. So we've got it flooded here. Give ourselves nice, we got a flood. There's 2 passes only, 1 flood with 2 passes. You guys will see there how it's not bright at all, not vibrant at all. Sure, your screen stays flooded at all times. So here's our discharge white. Very faint looking there, not bright at all. Again, if it was a standard plastisol, this is what it would look like after the first print. You would have to flash it, print it again, and that would give you a really thick print. But here we've got 1 pass only, 1 flood, 1 pass. Very faint, but after we send it to the dryer, you'll see how vibrant it is afterwards. So this is after we pulled it through the dryer. You can see how much more vibrant it is after one pass through the dryer. You want to make sure you have a large size dryer. You can do it with smaller dryers, entry-level dryers, but you're going to have to run this shirt through several times for it to cure. Inks cure from the outside in, so if you have a small dryer and you want to try water-based discharge and you put it through the dryer, you actually see the outsides of the logo will be cured, but the inside will still look faint. That's because logos, even with Plastisol, cures from the outside in. And so with smaller dryers that entry-level people want to use this with, you have to run it through your dryer a couple of times for it to cure properly. Because if we run it through fast and it's like, oh crap, we got to turn it down, that's what it's going to look like with smaller dryers. It's going to be the outside and then it'll start curing on the inside. So it's going to eventually cure with any style dryer. Just how efficient it will be is the one thing. So this is mainly used for larger style dryers and production with water-based inks. Those guys are using gas dryers, large size dryers that run tons of shirts through every day, and it cures really well. But so this is your after effect after you printed that one time. So the benefits of this, printing a discharge, if you were printing standard style dark garments, 100% cotton, the guy your customer comes in wanting a couple thousand shirts, 100 shirts or whatever it may be, only one color white, using a Discharge White will prevent you from having to flash print a couple times on each of those shirts. This is a one pass only, one hit, you're done. Another good thing about this is instead of, if you're printing in a white underbase and colors on top, and so instead of printing a white Plastisol underbase where you have to flash print it and it gets thick and bulletproof, you can print this white discharge down, make sure it's fully flashed and fully cured before you move to the next color. But what this will allow is you a very, very soft hand feel for your other colors, your other Plastisol colors to go on top. So this will accept Plastisol colors on top of water base. Just make sure you cure the water base, which is the underbase, first completely. If you guys have any questions about discharge prints, again, that's technically a one hit white. So if you got any questions, let us know.